Let's bring in Ted Cruz surrogate Ken Cuccinelli. Welcome, Ken.
Good morning.
I can't really believe we're talking about this on television, but I will ask you, how is Senator Cruz responding to this?
Sort of the head shake and grin. You know, this is the entertainer side of Donald Trump, maybe the rated R version, but nonetheless, this is entertainment, not policy. Ted has advanced, I think, the best and most coherent foreign policy approach, criticizing regime change in Libya, arguing that we shouldn't do it again in Syria, that the overreach by some candidates in terms of no-fly zones is misplaced. What we should focus on is crushing ISIS. I find it a little hard to believe that Donald Trump thinks that's being weak in any way, to use cleaner language. But I think that's a very measured approach that Americans will support, young and old alike. It's supportive of our military, rebuilding a military that we believe this president
let me ask you this, because specifically what he was talking about, Donald Trump, I mean, is waterboarding. And during the GOP debate, he said that he supports tactics that are worse than waterboarding. What do you suppose Mr. Trump meant by that?
You know, there are a lot of things that are worse than waterboarding, so I'm not real sure. I think you'd have to ask him. I think with waterboarding, out on the outer edge of what I think most Americans and generally I think most candidates would think of as acceptable, including Senator Cruz. But he isn't focusing so much on a single tactic. I think Donald Trump likes to talk about waterboarding and worse, like killing people's mothers, because it sounds tougher. And I suppose it sounds tougher, but is that really how you want your president thinking and talking? For most Americans, it's not. Ted Cruz has got a much more level-headed approach that is very tough on ISIS and rebuilds our military.
In fairness, Senator Cruz says he wants to make the sand glow and carpet bomb certain places in the Middle East.
Exactly, and targeting ISIS. And there is a place for the heavy application of force, and it's against terrorists that we know are there. It isn't against terrorist families and their mothers. That's not a way to defeat terrorism. That's a way to grow terrorism.
Okay, I want to take our viewers just for a second out to Bedford, New Hampshire, because Marco Rubio has appeared at a precinct at a polling station, and as you can see, he's talking to voters there, and also will shortly talk to the press. I would suspect, Ken, that Senator Cruz will soon do the same thing.
Yeah, we've obviously finished very strong in New Hampshire on the ground. Senator Cruz is well known at this point for having the best grassroots campaign.
Is Senator Cruz in New Hampshire this morning?
You know, I know he was in today, but he's bouncing around so much I can hardly even keep up with him anymore. But they were following through into New Hampshire all the way to the opening of the polls. So I'm not sure where he is at this moment, because he's getting around so very much. So I really can't tell you.
I think he has a stop at 1:30 Eastern this afternoon. At least that's what's on my note here. So.
Yeah, and I believe he's in the state for most of the day. I don't know how long he'll stay there, whether he'll stay till the votes count or what. But he's been up, getting around not only Iowa and New Hampshire, but other states all the way into March. So
I'm just curious, as far as where do you think that Senator Cruz will finish in New Hampshire? What would you guys consider a win?
Well, you know, there's a big jumble going on there right now, and the polls were, of course, wrong in Iowa, so I'm not real sure I want to speculate a whole lot, especially with voters now voting. I mean, what we're doing today is calling people who we understand to be favorable to Senator Cruz and making sure they turn out in a heavy weather day. Now, not that they're not used to that in New Hampshire, but we want to do everything we can to help people get to the polls today, which has been a real emphasis Senator Cruz has had all along, and you've heard him comment about that in New Hampshire.
All right, I have to leave it there. Ken Cuccinelli, thanks for stopping by.
Good to be with you all.
You're welcome.